Hey everyone, it's Quickshot here coming to you from my car. I'm busy delivering a bunch of extra tech to the shoutcasters so that we can get LEC back on the road for week 9. We're making the best out of a very difficult situation, and even though we can't be with you in the studio, we're so thankful that everybody is watching from home and that you are all sticking with us. You've sent in your chance.
Let's go, G2!
Fanatic! Fanatic!
Excel Esports, la 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 la!
Excel Esports, la 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 la!
Let's go! Fanatic! Fanatic!
Go, roll.
Your songs,
Let's go, Origin, let's go, Origin, let's go, Origin. Let's go, let's go, Origin.
shoutouts,
I'm cheering for the best strategic coach in the league, Misfits Amazing. Go Misfits!
I'm here to support Origin and especially Alfari. I know you didn't perform too well last week, but you got hard camped. They're scared of you, you're too powerful.
I have a feeling Perks is gonna pull out some crazy picks against Schalke this Friday, and he's gonna smash the whole team.
Nemesis what?
inflated your ego by filming vertically.
Hey, it's me, your legendary specimen, former player now turned into a successful team owner, Carlos Ara. I'll be watching G2, vote 0-2 or 2-0, whatever gives the best memes. And yeah, I hope you do the same.
And tweeted your support for everyone at the LEC.
Thank you for bringing the LEC back so we can spam in the chat.
We're all in this together and so excited for the games ahead. So sit back, get comfy. The LEC is back, it's time to spam in the chat.
I want the LEC back so I can spam in the chat. I want the LEC back in my life. Rap battles, Medi Vedi, feeling alright. I want the LEC back tonight. I want the LEC back. I want the LEC back in my life. I want the LEC back. I want the LEC back tonight.
Welcome back to the final week of the regular season. We are very excited to see the best teams in Europe flex their muscles once again. And we're also very happy to share this with our awesome fans. I'm Shax, I'm joined by Yamato and by Ender. Well, I have to say, that opening video did assault my tear ducts just a little bit. How about you?
I mean, I loved seeing everyone dancing, singing in the video. I see people spamming in the chat right now too, so I'm just glad we can get the LEC back on the road.
Very cute. I was impressed by Quickshot's camera mechanics there because we saw Carlos doing it the wrong way and super cool. Good for Trevor.
Yeah, good for Trevor. That's the takeaway. No, thank you so much for sending everything in and for joining us once again. Let's talk about the competition. So, with those standings, we can see that all the playoff teams are already locked in. But of course, seeding is still left to be decided. If you missed it last week, our 2020 Spring Split playoff teams are G2, Fnatic, Origin, Mad Lions, Misfits, and Rogue. Sorry, I forgot them there for a second. I hope they're not forgotten by their opponents in the actual playoffs.
I feel like these standings have been very honest with us. Looking at the top 3 specifically, I think, in general, Origin 3rd place is pretty much set in stone. They're beating down on anyone below them, but they can't beat anyone above them. Fnatic G2, very close with each other. I think as close as they've ever been, honestly. Fnatic almost winning those games against G2. It could have been either way. Maybe Fnatic could have been in first place now, but it wouldn't change my judgment. I still feel like G2 is the clear first. Now I'm happy that our standings are not lying to us.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Because coming into the season, our predictions, like, if you would have predicted what the end of the season would look like, it would look very similar to the standings are right now. But there's no doubt that G2 are still on top of our league. I mean, they just continue to prove year on year their versatility, their skill as individual players. They go an entire split with caps and perks swapping roles, and they're still number one.
Yeah, that is true. When I see this top three, right, we have G2, Fnatic, and Origin, and as said, that is along the lines of the expectations, but how far do you think each of these teams are off the top of their game if we know that they are jumping into the playoffs the week after this?
I feel like G2 still haven't shown us their full form. It's a question of how much emphasis they put into their practice and how much care they put into everything. The key takeaway as well is the fact that we don't get that massive break. So I feel like a lot of the forms that we are seeing the teams currently in is what we're going to see into playoffs. It's a question of what cards have teams been hiding and also how teams interact in best of fives. G2, Fnatic are a known quantity in best of fives. They're going to be super, super good. Every other team, kind of inexperienced, and we don't know what to expect because we have new rosters across the board.
I think I'm really excited to see how Fnatic play in those best of fives though, because in the past it's been like the one style type Fnatic with like fairly predictable drafts. Now I think Bwipo's played like every champion in the game in top lane in 9 weeks, and the rest of the team feels like they've got pocket picks around there as well, so it could get really exciting.
Yes, it could indeed, and fun to know maybe for the G2 fans out there, G2 will secure first place with one single win. So if they manage to beat Schalke 04 today, which they haven't been able to do yet, so I wouldn't count your blessings yet, G2 fans, they would get top one. We're also on patch 10.6. This week and the next one, Wukong and the playoffs rather, but Wukong is disabled for week 9 plus playoffs, Ender, Animato. That's pretty sad, but still we've got a lot to look forward to on the patch.
I'm happy that Wukong is out because honestly that champion is busted. Other things that you might look out for is the TP changes. I think that's the big one. Longer cooldown in the early game, better in the late game, so early punishes onto top side can be huge. And on top of that, maybe Morgana jungle and Morgana super might pop in more because the buffs are definitely strong for her.
Yeah, let's see what the teams pull out. Now, we talked a lot about the top of the table, but I'm a bit bored of talking about the top of the table. Yes, you know, the LEC, our storylines. It's always G2 and Fnatic and OG, but I want to talk about that battle for the 4th place. It's going between Mad Lions, Misfits, and Rogue, and more than just thinking about who could get that 4th place, I also want to look at these teams and ask you guys who you're most excited about and who could do the most damage going into those playoffs.
I'm looking at Rogue first and foremost in the question of who will take the 4th place. They have an easy schedule looking up. I think Rogue as a team have improved week by week. They're adding more weapons to their repertoire. They are diving bottom. They're using Prio in good ways. The key thing when Rogue are facing the higher end teams, when they're facing G2 and Fnatic, they don't get to show as much because G2 and Fnatic are putting in more small micro steps into getting that prio in the mid lane. They're using side lane pressure, they're using TPs. All of them have synergy in terms of understanding on how to create pressure. While Rogue, when they get that prio without resistance, when they are playing by the basics, they get to play their playstyle. I think the key strength for Rogue is the fact that they are improving, they are adding to their strengths, covering their weaknesses, and on top of that, they're also, diverse in their playstyle.
Yeah, but you always know that you're going to get, a good-looking Rogue on the day. That being said, I feel like there's not a whole lot of variation in their play day-to-day. They don't come out one day, have a ridiculous, insane game where they find an upset or whatnot. So while I do feel like they are probably our 4th best team on average in the league, I would look towards a team like Mad Lions if I'm going to try and predict, who can actually find upsets. Mad Lions, they've got wins off of Fnatic, off of G2 already through the regular season, and they have individual players like Humanoid and Shadow that will absolutely pop off and carry games.
Yeah, for sure, I'm with you. Rogue, not beating any top-side teams, but for sure, Mad Lions, they are the dark horse. I think in terms of, higher-end plays, mid to late game understanding, and also draft adaptation from week to week has been super, super good. Especially in the bottom side of the map, I'm really happy that Mad Lions was one of the first teams to play Kalista. And we mentioned earlier that there's not a long break between regular season and also the playoffs, so you don't have that much time to add more weapons to it. And right now with the Aphelios nerfs, with the Senna nerfs, Mad Lions is looking super strong because they have been the team that played Kalista and Misfortune, and that's going to be the big meta picks coming into playoffs.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's also very exciting to see this lineup, of course, 4 out of 5 rookies, and Humanoid, who is definitely not an old school pro yet. He only has a year and a half under his belt as well, so it's exciting to see from them. They do have a hard week on the docket for them. They are facing Fnatic and Origin, and it will be the question if they can replicate those huge successes in beating those top teams as they have before. Last team we haven't touched on, and I find very difficult to read, because after the huge winning streak, they just went 0-2 and are looking a lot more flimsy, is Misfits Gaming. What do we think of them?
I think Misfits had an advantage because they were playing through topside when no other team was doing it, so I think it always caught teams off guard. But now the meta has kind of caught up to them and they're kind of forced to adapt to playing through bottom as well, and this is something the Misfits always did poorly with. We had that one game where Caps was running it down and they got a lot of kills, and this maybe put them in a strong light, but every other game when they played through bottom, it looked very, very rough. And I think this is something that they've tried to work on in last week when they went 0-2. I think it's good that they're addressing their weaknesses already, because even if you're 4th, 6th, if you're going to lose the all best of 5 that you're playing because you're so one-dimensional, it doesn't matter. So they're addressing their weaknesses already. They're trying to play through bottom. They're trying to play weak side, top side. And I think that's a strength.
Okay, what I gather from you is most hyped possibly about Mad. Misfits have to get their plans together, and Rogue, you know what you're going to get, so we'll see what. Well, the playoffs are going to say a lot for that, as will tomorrow's match of the week, because the last scheduled game of the regular season is G2 versus those Misfits. They hit the Rift tomorrow in our match of the week.
It was pretty fun to play against Subivan. I've played against him for many years now.
There's the death mark coming in. And will it be enough? The pop and Subivan! But that was 1v1's Faker.
The history between us comes from 2016. He's always been trying to be better than me.
Comes the play on a Faker, exhausted. Zon keeps away from the wall, not quick against the smoke. There's the flash to chase. First blood into place.
We both won the first 2 splits we played in LEC.
We both have an insane drive and motivation that pushes us forward in the competition.
2-1 and 2. Meanwhile in the mid lane, Jankos gets the kill. Perks, one more turret shot. It's enough, but the tower takes him down.
This game will be like better jungler wins.
We don't have time, we have another fight. Femi's getting dived in the top lane, Perks doing what he can, but Femi able to survive for the moment. He's going to take down Perks. He dodges out the barrel as well, and Jankos has got a ball. Oh, the stopwatch! It is Femi, he couldn't survive. Jankos goes in, flashes out, he gets in.
Let's see if they go for this pick.
Oh, great! Featherstorm gets him out. That was perfect from B-Boy. He escapes the first bit of the fight. And G2, they thought they'd caught Misfits. Misfits now well in the lead in this game.
It's my solo kill game.
The jungler who goes first mid will probably kill. So maybe level 1 gank. Who knows?
It's pretty important for us to win the split. Now it's a new challenge for us to be able to win the split online. The synergy between Subivan and Razork is probably the biggest strength of their team.
The new EU talent is here to stay.
If they overcommit the knockback into the wall, I'm going to try to pull it back, but Razork! Just give this man player of the game! Down the round, Expect just takes the bait. He goes, wait a second, why would you do that? That's so it's not Expect. You've been baited, you've been outsmarted, now you're stunned. The Galio coming in though, maybe he can turn it. The knockup's there, Expect running for his life. Sidestep there from the Sukwani, but no, Bevan flash forward, shoots him with the gun fade.
Fabian's doing well again. I think that he was always like one of the better mid laners, but since he went to NA, no one really believed in him. And now he kind of did bring it back, and people still consider him like a top 3 mid lane in Europe right now. But I still think we should be able to beat him.
The Sank's already dead. Perks drives straight in, but knocked up by Selfmade in a moment, in a heartbeat. There's the True Shot Barrage coming out as well. And G2 now have a man advantage. Selfmade jumps back in. Perks alive. There's the Monsoon. Selfmade's going to go down, and the Monsoon just heals up them all. Reckless next on the menu. Only Nemesis left alive.
Last time we won against him, I think it's because he probably was a bit lost from the echo. I mean, I think they should ban it if they want to win.
All the top teams are stronger than they were last year, so it's going to be way harder to secure the first seed in playoffs.
We saw right there, Fabivan and Perks on the screen. I'm so happy that both, Perks is back in the mid lane, Fabivan is back in form. We saw in the B-roll both players fighting against FLICKR at the World Championship. It just speaks so much about the history of these players, the experience and the levels that they can achieve, and I feel like we are approaching that point in time where both are at their peak again. It's always an exciting matchup to look out for. Perks versus Febiven in the match of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a great one. Great to see Febiven back up there as well. And of course, these are two of our playoffs teams we might see face off in a best of 5. So this might be a little tasting menu for that. Now, let's take a look at our schedule and what that we have on the schedule for day 1 of week 9. We're kicking off the final week in style. However, there might be a couple of stomps around the corner, Ender.
Yeah, I mean, Schalke absolutely looking to put G2 in the dirt again. I believe it's been 258 days since G2 has taken a win against Schalke, so that one looking pretty lopsided to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be difficult for G2 to overcome that monster. And of course, Mad Lions versus Fnatic is the last one of the day. Very important one overall. Now, EU Masters is also right around the corner. And in the Polish Ultraliga, the teams are fighting tooth and nail for a chance to represent their region.
Jankos is a trademark for Polish League of Legends. But the country has much more to offer than just a bunch of incredible junglers. Taking a closer look at Ultraliga, the Polish ERL, we will see many talented players ready to jump in and take over the LEC by storm. The obvious example here is the whole 2019 Rogue roster, which was promoted to the LEC straight from Ultraliga. After winning the Ultraliga Season 1 finals, Rogue Esports Club of Larssen and Woolite leading the charge looked like a strong contender on the ERL scene. Unfortunately, the team's EU Master performance was abysmal as the players couldn't get past the group stage. Luckily for them, a second chance to prove themselves was right around the corner. Come the LEC Summer Split, Rogue decided to exchange almost the whole main roster that was clearly struggling for the Rogue Esports Club squad. The split started poorly, with a couple of losses in a row, but once the team started fielding Finn as the primary top laner, rather than the last player from the previous roster, Profit, things started to turn around. Eventually, Rogue finished in the 5th place and barely missed out on a chance to qualify for Worlds in the regional qualifiers. For young players coming from Ultraliga like Finn, Inspired or Larssen, that would have been a massive possibility to prove themselves on the biggest of stages. Apart from bringing the Rogue squad to life, Ultraliga has always been a very mid-lane-centric league, with many talented individuals representing the role. It's not only Larssen that has conquered hearts of the crowd, but also Humanoid, who joined Splice directly after winning Ultraliga Season 0 with Illuminar Gaming. Poland is also a home to many talented players that have not made a big name for themselves yet. Looking at Chayek, a 16-year-old mid laner, we'll see a player that is extremely mature for his age, as he came in as an emergency substitute during Season 2 finals to help his team secure a surprise victory over Ultraliga favorites, the Rogue Academy roster. Ultraliga is also renowned for its production value and the fact that it is a stepping stone for many stars in the making, like Humanoid, Larssen or Inspired. So if you want to know more about Polish League of Legends, tune in every Tuesday and Wednesday on Polsat Games.
Take this to the bank.
And welcome back to the LEC. Of course, very important to hear from the Ultraliga, one of our EU Masters qualifying leagues, where Kick have already qualified for EU Masters and AGO Rogue will be trying to qualify in their later matches.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting to see who can qualify. The Polish ERL has been a pretty competitive one. As the video mentioned, we have seen some pretty talented players come out from the region, and I'm excited to see what they can do in EU Masters. And of course, they did mention it, Rogue squad did get promoted up to the LEC, and we're going to be watching them play up again today. Rogue's main roster have obviously secured a spot in playoffs. Right now, they're playing for seeding Medic, and when we look at their future schedule, many analysts have kind of put them in the position to be that 4th place spot. spot. They only have to go through, I believe it is Schalke and SK to secure that 4th place spot, assuming the other teams fall around them.
In the LEC, that is, because of course the bracket we have on your screen is the Ultraliga bracket right now, which is maybe perhaps why you wouldn't recognize some of the icons. You can see Rogue AGO there in the 3rd round, winner of them, and Devils 1 will play up against Kick. But yes, as you said, Vedius, Rogue very likely to take that 4th seed, but they do still need to win out. They really need to take their games that they have today against SK, obviously, and then tomorrow against Schalke, if they're going to get that spot. And a favourable position when it comes into the playoffs.
For sure. Well, favourable. It depends on the...
You get an extra series. I think that's more to having...
Top 4 is definitely what you're after. It's super important to secure that spot. And, of course, they will have to go up against one of the big 3 in the form of Origin, Fnatic, and G2, who, of course, already locked their playoff spot. But they still have to go through SK. We'll see if they're able to do it. Of course, Rogue are the heavy favourites, and we are playing on patch 10.6. which is going to be an exciting patch. We get to see some new stuff. Aphelios has been banned. Banned. That's not the right word. Nerfed. Aphelios has been nerfed, which means that he shouldn't be on the ban list. He should be lower in the priority list. And as I say that, he's immediately first picked by Rogue. So, as we can see, as I was saying, Medic, 10-6, clearly very few changes. The meta pretty much the same. No, the Kalista was something that I wanted to talk about, but we're going very quickly through the bans. You can see Kalista was taken off the board. I think she's very strong in the current meta. She's sort of risen to priority, along with the Senna and the Syndra banned on the side of SK, with Ornn, Pantheon, and Ezreal banned. And yes, the Aphelios does take me by surprise a little bit. I think that champions like MF should still be high priority. I think Ezreal should also be really high priority, but it seems that Hans Sama wants to still stick to his comfort. But I believe the champion should be a lot weaker in the early laning phase now.
I can definitely see that. With the Ezreal being banned away, with Kalista removed, Senna removed, you are falling down that tier list of AD carries, so the option of, an MF or an Aphelios, obviously Rogue decided Aphelios was more important. SK lock in the Varus, Lee Sin, and Gangplank, where we're going to see Sejuani for Inspired, and Larssen or Finn taking Irelia.
So it's important to note that Death's Dance was also changed on this patch, and there was a big Blade of the Ruin King buff on the last patch. Now, we did see Camille rushing Blade of the Ruin King last week on the LEC, and as a result of this Blade of the Ruin King rush, we're seeing some other champions return to the meta like Irelia. Now, the great thing about Irelia is she can be flex-picked between mid and top, so depending on the matchup that Rogue want to put this champion into will depend on what the opponent draft. But we know Finn is an Irelia player. It's something that he is very comfortable on, so my base expectations are that they want to put it in Finn's hands, but we'll see how the rest of the draft plays out.
Yeah, I could see that. I think Finn very comfortable on those sort of bruiser / dive the backline champions, things like the Aatrox, like the Irelia, and with Azir, Braum being banned away, Cassio being banned away as well, I think we're probably expecting that Irelia to go towards the top lane. But final ban here for Rogue, could focus towards the mid once again if they wanted, could remove another support from the pool and try and pinch SK's pool that little bit, but SK of course have first pick when we get out of this second ban phase.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think that right now Rogue is feeling pretty comfortable with the draft they have. The early blind Lee Sin coming out from SK means that the Sejuani could come through, and I think that typically Sejuani is a pretty solid matchup because unless the Lee Sin has guaranteed prio in a lot of his lanes and gets assistance with the invade, it's very easy for a Sejuani to escape and maybe even out-duel the Lee Sin in some situations, depending on her health state. So I think that the Sejuani pick is good, it offers scaling, offers engage. You can kind of see from Rogue's lineup that they actually have a pretty solid mid to late game with their current setup. SK have a little bit more early game power, especially with this Varus Thresh that they've drafted for themselves. And I think that this is already setting up for SK to try and play through their bot lane, try and play through Crownshot, who has been one of the standout performers of the split.
Oh, lock it in. This is Maokai support, Betty. This is Maokai support.
I don't think it is. I think
no. It's either Maokai or Set. Okay, 100%. Right?
I think it's Set support.
I have been seeing a lot of Maokai support recently, and it is flipping annoying to play against because you can't poke it out of lane because it has sap magic and it just heals up the entire time. It has instant lockdown. It has follow up for something like a Sejuani. I would love Maokai support here. I think it works just as well. And if you're willing to take Set into Gangplank in the top lane and try and harass the Gangplank down, that's actually a good lane for the Set as well. Rogue could have gone 5-head. They could have totally big brained this draft.
Well, let's see.
If it's not Maokai support, I'm going to be so sad.
I think right now the Irelia is going mid. I think of course, top and support can be swapped, right? I was speaking to Odo Omni at length about the Maokai, and right now pros think that Maokai is actually really good, just in general. They think it's a pretty safe blind pick, because it can be flexed into multiple roles. The roles I heard was mainly top and mid. I hadn't heard them talk a lot about support, but that's not to say that it can't go in that position.
So me in Diamond 4 is like
we see all kinds of crazy stuff appear in pro play medic, so I'm not going to count it out yet. But given that we have just passed the 20 seconds, now I can. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing any Maokai support medic. But we can talk a little bit about why Maokai is good into Gangplank. And it's really interesting because when I was speaking to Odo about things, that in many ways, Maokai can actually...
I'm going to take over from you there, Vedi, for a second, because there were things happening. So, yes, Maokai can be very good. Obviously, in the top lane, you can harass down something like a Gangplank. Even if you take some damage, you heal up with your Sap Magic. So that top lane 1v1 is actually okay for the Maokai. And having the lockdown when you can follow it up with something like a Sejuani makes things a lot easier for ganking. You can actually shut down a Gangplank quite effectively in the early game and stop him getting towards the Trinity Forces, the Infinity Edge, these big power spikes that you want for a Gangplank. The rest of the lineup, though, I like the LeBlanc mid for SK. I think that can do a lot of damage as well. But I wonder whether SK, who early on in the draft we said wanted to play through their bottom lane, will be able to actually get ahead against something like a set support who is very good at healing up, especially against the poke of something like Varus. I believe
Medic,
that Ender
you're
is going
saying
to join me.
so many
Hey, buddy.
great things right now, Medic. I would love if you could continue to break down the Maokai support for me, even though that's not being played. I just know you and Vedius were having a lengthy discussion about that earlier. No?
I'll talk to you about it now if you want. But I was waiting for the cool intro graphics we have there, Ender.
Yeah,
Sorry, I wasn't deliberately ignoring you. I will say my final thing about Maokai support: it's fun to play. You should definitely play it. If you enjoy engage supports, Maokai support, people aren't expecting it, and it's really good. And it's got long range engage, and it's really fun.
But can I please tell you about Maokai Jungle? Because that is also very, very fun.
Well, you can't, because I brought it up when it could have been a thing, and Maokai Jungle isn't going to happen in this game. So talk to me about these comps, because I was discussing with Benchius, Lagius.
Lagius, yes.
He left, yeah. How do you feel these compositions are going to work here? Because, of course, Rogue are still, contending for something, whereas SK, this is very much a game for pride for them.
So right now, I'm sort of trying to unpack everything going on, because Rogue's comp is really interesting to me. They have tons of CC, like point-and-click CC as well, right? With like Settle plus Maokai, and like a really beefy frontline too. So their team fighting, I think, can be really, really exciting. Come mid-game, they can force a lot. But SK have early game power, and that's what we're already seeing them go for this invade.
Yeah, they're trying to get in here, steal away the red buff if they can. There's a ward now down. Hans Summer trying to trade in as the red buff will reset, and I think SK will have to just be happy that they slowed down Inspired's path early on.
Oh, Inspired actually leaving the red buff there. Actually, I can't quite tell. He may have gone back
I think he's just leached around the corner.
Yeah, but Trick is going to be slowed down here, which is a bit unfortunate for him, because I was thinking with this Lee Sin, you can try to take over, especially around mid lane in the early levels. LeBlanc offers so much gank setup for you, and especially versus the opponent being a melee mid laner, she's always going to have to like overextend to Everlast Hit on this Aurelia. So I'm sort of looking around this mid lane for Trick to get things done, but that may be hard since he's only cleared one camp in the first 2.5 minutes of the game, and there's a ward on that top side of the mid lane, which will spot him if he comes there after red.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be quite hard for Trick to get a good gank off. I was watching part of the Misfits pre-show earlier before the LEC started, and they were talking about Trick, and it's like, he used to have hands, right? This is quoting them. He used to have really good hands, and they just seem to have disappeared recently. And something like Lee Sin as a champion, you really need to have hands to master. So we'll see if he's found his hands again, or if he's going to struggle against Inspire. This is a nice little pass from him, getting in here, looking to steal away the blue.
The thing is, Inspired should tick over to level 3 after finishing off Gromp, so if you were to run into Lee Sin with red buff, I think you would win. But Trick has Smite, so he should be able to pick this one up. Still won't be level 3 himself, because he didn't include Krugs or Grump in his initial clear, but it looks to me like he's going to be going for a double Scuttle Crab path, which means that he's going to tick over to level 4 faster than Inspired. That's basically what that means if he goes for that, because Scuttle Crabs give you more EXP than like the base camps like a Wolf or a Wraith or even the buffs themselves, as he comes into mid lane for a quick second here, just trying to make sure he can get down to the river. But because he hasn't cleared any of his own camps yet, that are going to be respawning, like, they're not going to respawn, they're not going to be leveling up, so his next clear is going to give him significantly less EXP. So now I feel like you actually need to get something done with that quicker level 4, otherwise I'm going to be like, well, there's a Sejuani that's scaling up going towards 6, she's going to be pretty fine with that sort of a setup.
It's definitely the thing, it's the cost benefit of, can I take my camps, do I want to get them leveling up quicker, or do I look for early plays? And of course, Lee Sin, a master of early plays, very good at getting into the lane. You can see the facebreaker here from Vander. He gets hooked up with the death sentence. Haymaker comes out and Limit flashes away. A sizable CS lead being built up here for Crownshot and Limit, but the Thresh there having to burn a summoner will make it a bit harder for him to lane against Vander now, because Vander can always just flash in and get the stun off on the set.
Yeah, I mean, you see why set support is considered strong by a lot of pro players too, right there. Whenever you go for these, all-in type of plays, he gets so much value. When 2 people hit him, when he goes for that big W, like, that's going to be a ton of true damage if he lines that one up. And also, he just can't get poked out of lane. Because of his passive that gives him so much innate health regen, the lower he gets, you're just not going to really be able to force him away. So he's going to be able to take trades like that, also soak up minion waves, freeze it in front of the tower, like you're sort of seeing Rogue go for now, and it gives you a lot of ability to control the wave.
Definitely does. I gotta see how it develops from here, because early on, like, we've seen back and forth in different lanes. There's a slight CS lead for Crownshot in that bottom lane, slight CS lead for Sakura in the top lane, who hasn't really been harassed by Finn too much. Haven't seen Inspired on the top side of the map, as he was forced away from his blue early on, but overall, I think Rogue are very happy with how this game's playing out. Trick has gone double longsword alongside his machete instead of going up towards the skirmisher's saber early on. Inspired has got himself a Balmy Cinder, so that Sejuani clear is going to be a lot easier now. The Immolate passive, of course, introduced on 10.4, makes it so much easier for someone like a Sejuani to clear out that jungle rapidly.
Yeah. Okay, so Medic, I have a riddle for you, okay? A bit of a question. What do Vedius and EU West both have in common? Answer the question.
They're both prone to crash.
Yeah. Now, what is the difference between Vedius and EU West?
Vedius is back online.
Vedius comes back online. Welcome to the cast, Vedius.
What's up, friends? It's me, your boy Vedius. How's it going?
Thank you very much, Ender, for joining us, mate. I'll see you later. Welcome back, Vedius.
My router restarted. I don't know why. It just decided I need a break, but we're good. We're good.
It's practicing social distancing. You were getting too close,
Vedius. Catch me up. What is
so basically not too much has happened. Ender said a lot about jungle pathing, but really it hasn't. Okay. Nothing important happened there. So he was very, very, very adamant that Trick is now behind, which he is by half a level because he didn't clear his starting camps, but we'll see if it actually makes anything happen. We do see Larssen going towards the Blade of the Ruin King, so that was interesting. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is what I wanted to talk about in Champion Select, which is that the Blade of the Ruin King rush is a large part of what's brought Aurelia back into the meta. We talked about how she can be a pretty effective flex pick, and the other thing that I was talking about just as I got cut off was that Oroamne was talking to me a lot about Maokai top lane, especially into Gangplank, and he believes that when you get back into lane with things like a Balmy Cinder, you actually start to win that 1v1 matchup, and we actually got to see a bit of a skirmish between the two in the top lane. You could see how this Maokai was actually bullying out the GP, and this first item kind of really makes the 1v1 so much more difficult. But we can't focus on the top lane right now. We've got to talk about this bot lane. You can see the LeBlanc was hovering around. The GP has also hit level 6, so the ulti is available. Will SK actually look to execute the dive here?
Now, Vander has his flash and his ignite. Sentry goes down. They're looking for the damage on to Vander. Haymaker comes out. And Limit is chunked out once again. Here come Inspired and Larssen. They're running down. Control Ward is out. Looking for the slows, but of course Inspired can't be slowed. That passive doing a lot of work for the Sejuani. He flashes forward, but Limit able to escape the hook. Not quite going to connect. Larssen jumping in, straight dives onto the backline and is exhausted. 2 turret shots will be enough to make it a 1-for-1.
So that was a bit of an overforce coming out from the side of Rogue. Double flash invested from both Inspired and Larssen. Now they did get the kill onto Larssen, which is always going to be great for this Aurelia, but it was at the cost of giving Crownshot a kill in return. So no real gains made for Rogue in that situation. And as we look back at this replay, you'll see that the initial hook coming out from Limit does go wide, which means that Hans doesn't get punished. They're not quite able to stun Limit underneath the tower. Of course, Vander isn't quite able to connect the second part of his E on the other side. Then Inspired comes in, you can see that as he uses the first part of his W, he's trying to connect it onto Limit, but a good sidestep there from Limit allows him to avoid that setup. And now you just see Larssen hard committing to the play. He misses his stun onto both Trick and Crownshot as well, going a little bit short. So a couple of execution errors there coming out from the side of Rogue, and it ends up being a 1-for-1 overall. And you can actually see that SK sit with the gold lead for the time being.
Yeah, you can see actually Sakura got some free time there up in the top lane. He's about 500 gold ahead of Finn now because he was able to take 2 plates and get some free damage as Finn went down towards the middle lane to try and hold. SK have already got the Infernal Drake here ready, which is why they can challenge this Rift Herald. Rogue rotated both Hans and Vander around that objective, but unable to secure it right now. And it's actually a strong lead for SK. Look at that CS difference in the AD carry. It's like you've got a Blade of the Ruin King on its way for Crownshot. And although it wasn't buffed for ranged champions, it's still a strong item when you look at a Sejuani and a Maokai who are trying to run you down.
And we're actually seeing the Aphelios nerfs come through here, because one of the big nerfs, or the goals of the nerfs for Aphelios was to try and reduce the strengths of his early laning phase, and that's really hurt his ability to 2v2, of course, when paired up with the set as well. Hans is in a lot of trouble.
Has to flash away.
He does, and now he's alive.
He does, yeah. I was expecting you to go back to your point. Usually when something like that happens and nothing happens from it, you just go back to talking about whatever you were talking about.
Alright, so carrying on with that
paired up with the set.
Yeah, paired up with the set, you obviously don't have a huge amount of lane pressure because you're at a range disadvantage. And I think that Crownshot and Limit have done a great job of utilizing that range advantage to try and build this CS lead. And then, of course, getting that kill off the back of it has only made this gap worse. Now, of course, Hans will still have a scaling value with the Aphelios. The primary goal of the nerfs was to hurt the laning phase, so it's not like he does 0 damage in the late game, but for the early to mid game portion, especially once that Blade of the Ruin King is completed, SK is going to feel very comfortable and very powerful as we enter that 15-minute mark.
Finn taking the bad side of a trade with Sakura. Sakura gets the Executioner's calling early on. He's also got a Sheen off that extra gold you got. And I remember you were talking about this earlier, Vedius, and how you discussed with Odoamne and Finn, on the Maokai should start winning trades. And that's all well and good, in my opinion. I understand that. That's cool.
Yeah.
But winning trades versus killing a Gangplank, those are two different things, right? And if you're not killing the Gangplank or really putting him far behind, it's still Gangplank. He's still going to scale incredibly well.
But so does Maokai, and that's the important thing, because when you sit there and think about what tanks offer in the current meta, you'd think that their damage isn't that strong. With the Balmy Cinder change and with the Sunfire Cape changes, there's a lot of additional damage that now comes out of tanks. And you've also got to take into consideration how much crowd control Maokai offers. And the great thing about Maokai is he can also build a Randuin's Omen. So the full crit builds that you normally see from top laners like Gangplank gets heavily mitigated by going for that Randuin's Omen. Which means that, at least when you speak to Odoamne, he tells me that he thinks in certain situations that Maokai can actually outscale the GP and just offer overall to the game. And I think this is a situation where, just due to the sheer amount of utility, we can see a situation like that. The problem that Rogue have to think about is how they're going to manage this 1-3-1 option that SK have, especially if this LeBlanc and GP get too strong.
Engage is going to happen here. The Lee Sin that's caught up, knocked back with the Showstopper, and Trick will go down. They're trying to get the Eye of the Rift Herald, and Jenax will pick it up and jump out the back of the pit. The Cats are chasing down here, though, and Limit will be caught out. He's going to fall as well, you have to feel. Finn takes the kill. That long-range engage tool from the Nature's Grasp paying off.
Utility, medic. Utility. That's what's so great about Maokai, right? Honestly, I am a big fan of Maokai. I love this champion. I know many people think he's boring and not that fun to watch, but I love watching him because I think that he can do so much. His damage is surprisingly high, but it's all about the utility. His Q, his W, his ultimate, it just has so much setup, it has so many options. You can engage from the flank, you can engage from the front, you can engage from wherever you want just because of how versatile his kit is. And I think it makes it so easy for you to teamfight, but it also gives a lot of setup for champions like Aurelia as well. Those champions that rely on that crowd control control to close the gap, to stay onto those carries that they're trying to shut down.
Betty, Larsen's gonna die. Larsen's gonna die. He didn't realize that Sakura was waiting in the bush. He's trying to dodge around here, but there's really nowhere for him to go. And SK, they baited him in, and then they sprung the trap.
Yeah, I mean, SK is playing very well right now. They are making Rogue sweat for this. A lot of it has come down to the early laning phase, and while the kills are in favor of Rogue, a lot of the objectives have been going over to SK, the early Infernal, the early Rift Herald. Now, Rogue is in a good position to secure themselves first tower. Ooh, they've actually invested the GP teleport up towards the top side.
Jenax, that's not where you want to be. He jumps back, but he's going to get locked up with the permafrost. Jumping into a ward when you're on a ward.
He didn't know he was on a ward. He didn't know.
Yeah, but like, you have to expect there's people waiting in that. Like, if you don't see them, do you want to jump in? Especially against a set who has instantaneous lockdown.
Yeah, and I mean Sejuani was also there.
Yeah.
So a little unfortunate. Both mid laners giving up their life there when they didn't need to. But the idea was promising from Sakurai. He was TPing to top lane to keep the tower alive, to then set up the collapse with Jenax. But of course, Jenax springs the trap a little too early, ends up losing his life. The bright side for SK is they got the Mountain Drake, and they actually secured first tower in the bot lane. So they're sitting with an even gold between the two teams right now, and they still have an advantage bot lane. The GP yet to complete the Trinity Force, but I think that Maokai is going to start winning these 1v1 trades against the Maokai, against the GP. He's going to need at least a Trinity Force before he starts comparing against this champ.
Yeah, and at the moment he's actually facing up into Jenax on LeBlanc, so definitely winning those trades as well. I think my one goal for this cast is to see a Twisted Advance follow Jenax like all the way across the map as he jumps. It's the little things that keep me entertained, Betty.
The little things. No, I get it. I get it. When you're casting for a long time, you know, you feel like you've seen it all. Something new has to
like an owl
come
fact.
across.
It just comes.
I'm not hitting you with an owl fact. I'm out. I'm dry. I've got none. It's over, medic. It's over.
How have you run out of owl facts?
I mean, no one's ever really run out of owl facts, but there's too many. There's a limit to how many owl facts people can take.
That is true. That is true. 15 minutes in, the game is pretty much even. Differences in the AD carrying top lane role in terms of CS, but a couple of good turret plates, and the first tower going over to, I believe it went to Rogue, means that Rogue are keeping up in gold with SK. And I wonder if we're going to see Larssen go for the improved or changed death stance here with that. Oh no, because you can't get it out of Negatron. It builds out of Aegis. I saw Magic Resistance, I was like, ooh, Death Dance, but no, that's Aegis. No, this will be a Wit's End.
Probably Wit's End.
Yeah,
it's probably Wit's End. Because, you could also, I don't think he's going to go Stone Plate, but that's the direction he could go with that itemization. But
could go QSS as well? Just QSS?
Could also go QSS. See, now I'm doubting myself.
Yeah, this is the problem. Usually I just look it up and I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely know this the entire time. But quick, Betty, talk about something.
Alright, we're setting up for a play. Ultimate lands in the mid lane.
Chain of Corruption, that's gone, and there is the Dragon's Raid kickback as Vander just gets popped before he can even land the Haymaker. Teleport coming in here as Larssen tries to join the fight. Can't quite land the flawless duet, the stun's not going to connect, and the exhaust comes out. Jenax just misses the chains, and the Vanguard's edge goes a mile wide there from Larssen. Trick's going to jump back in. Sakurai is on his way up, but not really too much to fight over right now.
No. That was a weird situation.
Yeah,
so
it's just a no magic mantle for Quicksilver Sash, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
I'm messing with you.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, you're putting doubt in my mind. I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, in that fight, Rogue was not in a great position. They looked like that they had numbers advantage, so they felt that they could siege onto the mid-tier 1. The problem was that they were not in a great position to actually fight, because SK was collapsing on them from multiple sides. Trick and Limit came out from the brush, they were able to catch Rogue off guard, and that allowed them to get that pick. And then Larssen, the execution of his Aurelia seems so off so far. We have seen very little that would really be inspirational, I suppose, as he's made a lot of blunders. Now, Jenax in a lot of danger, but he is LeBlanc.
He is. He was able to dodge away a couple of times. Inspired still chasing him down. Doesn't quite land the flash as Jenax jumps away with a distortion. That was
LeBlanc things, medic. That's just LeBlanc things. Now, Hans Sommer in danger.
Oh, good flash away. Good flash away. Limit a little bit too slow, I think, there with the flay, but Hans Sommer able to flash away in time.
So flash. Hans Sommer not in the best position there, but Rogue will push out that top lane. SK were also able to get another tower, so they currently lead with the towers. They've actually managed to build just under a 2k gold advantage. If we could swap over to the gold and have a quick look at the differences, I feel like Sakurai has been able to build up a pretty big advantage, because to me it feels like Finn has been grouping up a lot with his team, and this is something you'll see a lot from Rogue. Finn will just sacrifice waves to be a part of his team and set up plays, but if they don't actually make any successful... well, that's close enough to what you wanted to see, right?
Yep, I'm a happy lad now.
Alright, I'm glad. Everyone, Medic's happy after seeing that play. But yeah, you'll see Finn, like, group up a lot with this team. I mean, you can see it right now. You know, he's hanging around the mid lane. It's a little dangerous for him to go top lane and push out that wave, but his focus is to make sure that he stays with his team, and a lot of the side lane farm actually gets funneled into Larssen instead. And you can see that difference starting to mount between the two mid laners. Larssen now sitting at level 12. He will have just completed his Wit's End as well. And the risk of that is it allows enemy top laners to build a pretty significant gold advantage if Rogue never actually converts any of these plays into anything manageable. Now Finn, drawn underneath the tower.
Yeah, Jenax looking for the chains, can't quite land them as Finn dodges to the side. And you can see Rogue trying to make plays, trying to get Finn there. Of course, the lockdown potential from a Maokai is devastating, but meanwhile, Sakurai pushing in bot lane. That's the third dragon of the game going up to SK as well, and they have a 2,500 gold lead here, Vedius.
Yeah.
SK in a very strong position, and have to impress the importance of this game for Rogue. If they lose this and Mad win either of their last two games, there is no way that Rogue gets to 4th spot, and 4th spot vital to get double elimination through our playoffs. 5th and 6th only get one chance to get through. As soon as you lose, you're out, and
they didn't get it.
They didn't do it. Everyone stopped
ran out of
attacking
time.
them.
No, yeah, you're right. They all were resetting because
Inspired's attacking it, right? But you have to get it before 90 and 55, otherwise it just despawns.
Yeah. All right, Medic. We got to take a breather here, because SK is just smurfing on Rogue right now. They are punishing all of their mistakes.
Yeah, Rogue are also making mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, right? Like, this is a team that we touted as being clear 4th place, and right now they're not looking like a 4th place team. We questioned the early priority on the Aphelios because all the nerfs did hurt its laning phase, and now we're seeing the results of that. You know, Hans got bodied in lane, and while Maokai can be a very strong to the gangplank, they didn't actually really set up any dives onto Sakurai. They've allowed Sakurai to just free farm. He's now has a level advantage on Finn, and while sure, Maokai can operate with very low amount of gold, you still also have to deal with a LeBlanc that you haven't been able to itemize yet, but now they're looking for the players onto the gangplank.
Teleport coming in as Sakurai's blocked underneath the turret. The cannon barrage has been used as well, and Sakurai's still alive. Glacial Prism will land onto Trick as he is the sacrifice for the team. They lose one, but Rogue have invested a lot into this fight. Jenax trying to flash forward, lands the Q onto Larssen, and now the rest of Rogue are running. There's the chains. Inspired just at the tip of it, just at the edge, is going to get caught, and the chain of corruption comes down, and that's 3 kills over to SK. They are destroying Rogue right now.
So what looked like Rogue trying to get back onto the map, they were like, okay, we need to be more proactive. Let's break this bot tier 1. They dive the GP. It looks like that they play well enough to even punish the counter from SK, but Hans Summer, he could now be in danger.
What else? 1v1, you have to feel it. There's a control.
Is it a 1v1, Medic?
Way. Oh dear God, Hans Summer trying to heal to get away, but he doesn't cleanse to get away, sorry, but he doesn't even have the flash, and now Finn is caught unawares as well.
Die as well.
They're just going in one by one. This is the solo queue game from Rogue. They die piece by piece, and SK just lap up the pieces.
SK have only won 2 games this split, and now they could be in a position to deny Rogue 4th place in the playoffs. They could lose that bye in the playoffs, and this is going to be a ban for SK Gaming. So many mistakes have been coming out from Rogue, and SK have been punishing them beautifully.
Have to give, yeah, I've said it, you said it, Rogue have made a lot of mistakes, but as you say, SK have played very, very well this game, capitalizing when Rogue overstep, and this is a key example of it, because Rogue have set this up for a long time. Look, there's only 2 SK players on this side of the map right now.
Yeah, you're completely right, Medic. The TP comes in immediately from LeBlanc. This is still, though, a 4 versus 3, and a really good ultimate there from Inspired to lock down Trick, meaning that they can get that instant kill. Gangplank is forced to back off. Jenax can't do anything, but he's like, oh, Larssen actually took tower aggro. He took way too much damage. I can flash in and kill him. Now Limit and Crownshot have arrived, and the chain's range is so long that they're able to land the collapse. Vander cannot offer any protection, and that means that SK convert that into 2 kills. And then, of course, we know what happens happens next. Hansama, left all by his lonesome, he thinks he's safe, but he ends up getting flanked on by Sakurai. The angry pirate is saying, oh, do you remember me? Because I certainly remember you, as he chases Hansama down. And now we see another fight.
As Rogue trying to engage, Glacier Finn's going to come out onto Crownshot, but he uses the cleanse immediately. He is shut down, and SK have been caught unawares on the wrong side of the map here. Sakurai was up top lane without TP, and Rogue find 2 kills.
So I feel like Rogue's game plan is, right, okay, we sent 4 people into the last play, we clearly needed 5.
Yeah.
So now, they've gone all 5 members, they send them down bot, they do secure 2 kills, but look at mid lane, look at top lane. SK is in a position to push these waves and they're going to be able to convert it into an objective. All Rogue have successfully been able to do is deny a couple of Baron buffs. For SK, they're still in control of the game, they're still keeping up the pressure. The only thing they're lacking right now is some deep vision, but of course, their primary vision tool is dead, so I can't really blame them for that.
And there's 30 seconds on the next dragon as well. They've already secured 3 of them. This could be a Cloud Soul for SK. Now, they spot Vander going into the bush, maybe just think, hey, we can catch him out. They then see it too late. They see it too late, and the TP comes in behind them.
Exactly that, Medic. You hit the nail on the head there. They thought that they could find a pick. They thought they could be the ones to punish, but it was actually just a trap being set up by Rogue. A beautiful flank coming in from behind to allow them to find 2 kills, but that was a double TP investment, and now they do not have that when the dragon's spawning in 2 seconds. Look at where people are on the map right now, Medic. That is Aurelia's Larssen in the top lane. Yeah, they're going to have to, because I don't think they're strong enough to be able to win 5v5 right now. They're 5.5k gold down. Medic, that's a half item, even a full item gap between some of the members on these 2 teams, and Larsen's not even going to be able to convert it into a tower, so great stuff coming out from SK. Now they're in a position, they still have the Baron buff, it looks like they're going to keep the siege going.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get back in time. I'm not sure Rogue will be here in time. It's only Hansama. Now Vander joins the party. Oh, Finn was there, he was hiding under Hansama's shadow, but this inhibitor tower is going to go down. Jenax does not have TP. If Rogue can force a fight, it would be a full 4v4. There's the Nature's Grasp, but all those cats can do is scare away SK for the second as they back away. And,
but SK won't be able to secure the inhibitor, which is the crucial thing here. Rogue invested that in order to buy themselves a little bit more time. We kind of think about the scaling and we think about how strong these tanks are and how much of a frontline they can have, the amount of utility they have. Right now, there's just such a massive gold gap and experience gap that Rogue just need to hold the line to get to the point where they can actually start to win and look for these 5v5s, but they are not at that point just yet.
I guess the question is how long you can hold on for, because I know right now people at the Misfits house, people at the Mad Lions house are looking at this game and saying, hey, we could be gifted one here, right? Like Misfits, Rogue and Mad Lions all fighting for that 4th position. Mad Lions have a game in hand, but they play Fnatic and Origin this week. Misfits have a game against Vitality next, so they could tie up with Mad Lions, and Rogue would be relying on both Misfits and Mad to drop games and them to win their game tomorrow for them to have any chance of making it into 4th spot.
I mean, we think about it, Minik. Like, I believe Rogue plays Schalke tomorrow, yes?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
And Schalke went 2-0 last week, and right now Rogue is struggling against SK, you know? When you think about it like that, even if Mad goes 0-2, if Rogue also goes 0-2, then Mad still finishes above them. So this is why these games are so important, and of course things not completely over yet for Rogue. Right? We've seen comebacks bigger than this. Rogue is a good enough team to know how to punish mistakes. But right now, SK isn't making that many mistakes. They have not been flawless, of course. They have been picked a couple of times, but they have such a healthy bed of goals to sit on. It's going to take more than just one mistake before they throw this game away. They're going to have to lose a Baron, lose an Elder, and then maybe lose another fight after that before they're really in some serious danger, because they are so strong right now.
So powerful. I'm wondering if SK are just waiting for the 3rd item spike. You can see Sakurai's actually just finished his GA. I wonder how far Crownshot is away from either a Bloodthirster or an Infinity Edge on Disvarus with him having a Vamp Scepter. I expect it to be the Infinity Edge, but the Bloodthirster, but it could be a GA as well, of course. Sitting on 900 gold right now, 1,000 gold lead over Hansama. And that 4,000 gold lead for Sakurai over Finn. As much as, you know, Maokai could scale better than Gangplank the later the game goes on, right now there's a big discrepancy between the two of them. Yeah, I'm not going to throw you under the bus like that.
No. You're totally right. It's one of those things where you can sit there and say, hey, Vayne outscales, like, Lucian or whatever, right? But if the Lucian has a 4k gold gap, it doesn't matter. It's like, you know, it's
scaling implies they have the same amount of gold, I think.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. If the two champions are even, then one champion can offer more than the other, and if the Gangplank and the Maokai were even, then, you know, I'd be sitting there saying, hey, I reckon Maokai can actually win some trades. I reckon he can do pretty well here, but no, that's not the case. He's limit though.
Oh, good flash away. He didn't realize he was on a ward.
Okay.
Was able to get away, but it was greedy back place from limit, right? You can just go a little bit further back and be safer. Rogue might look for a fight as Finn uses the Twisted Advance to get away, but here's the Cannon Barrage. It's actually SK who are looking for the party. Crownshot's going to get pulled in with the Larssen. Cyclade's stunned up. There's the Glacial Prison on him as well. He's going to flash the Haymaker, forces Vander back to the Showstopper. He tries to get across the wall, but already the stopwatch has been used by Trick and he's still alive. Moonlight Vigil doesn't really connect onto anyone on limit. Then hits the stun across the wall. Inspired dashes away with the Arctic Assault. But Rogue will just have to disengage and SK get a kill and get out.
Yeah, all of the ultimates were used on the side of Rogue. They no longer have their support. A couple of flashes available, but SK's in a prime position to be able to threaten the Baron, and you can see Hans, he doesn't have the HP to be able to contest this right now, but they're going to try. They're going to TP back in. They know that if they lose this, the game is guaranteed to be over.
Here comes Finn trying to get in there with the movement speed buff. SK still on the Baron, starting to reset, looking for the fight as Limit steps forward. He hasn't got the hook right now, but Cyclade can step in. Jenax there as well. Finn misses the hook. Here we go. Finn gets hit with the Sonic Wave, the flash, the kick, straight back into the team, and now Finn is done for. SK find another kill and turn back towards the Baron.
Yeah, there's no reason not to. They've now killed one of the frontline members. Of course, Jenax does need to reset. He's got some gold that he wants to spend. He has no mana, but he has the teleport. So, SK go back to threaten. As long as Inspired is alive, though, this is not a safe Baron.
I was looking for a ward from them, and it's all the way at the blue buff. No other wards there for SK around that he could TP to, but Rogue still looking for the fight. There's a Rabadon. There's a Rabadon on Jenax. And Hansama feels the pain that comes with the Witch's hat. The Rabadon's Death Cap doing its work there, as SK will get the Baron for themselves. Second of the game and 30 seconds on the Elder. Is Inspired going to get out? Yeah, he's fine, as SK secure their second Baron of this game.
That right there is the LeBlanc signature trick. Make your opponent disappear. Really good back timing from Jenax to be able to pick that one up. He had so much HP, and that just goes to show what you can do to a backline squishy if you're able to set up a really nice flank around all the tanks. With the Maokai gone, this is made even easier, and we'll get to see Jenax set this play up here. Just look at how much damage he's able to throw out. Oh, he's even able to land the chains, which I think is absolutely crazy considering that Vander was standing right in front of him as well. Beautifully done from Jenax. Now Larssen is on the run.
Yeah, he teleported into this, trying to stop something from happening, but he's going to have to flash away. The Cannon Barrage did come out, and now SK have the advantageous position on this Elder Dragon. Hansama on his way, Vander there as well, but SK have started it up. Inspired across the wall looking for a steal. Seeing if he can get in, the Nature's Grasp will be used. Inspired lands the Glacial Prison, but it's really not going to do too much. Vander now coming in from the side as well. They'll try and catch out Trick if they can. Vander there with a face breaker. Larssen coming in with the Vanguard's Edge as well. The Showstopper's being used, but already Finn just loses in a 1v1 to the enemy AD carry. And that's not what you want from your tank. Jenax is dominating. Rogue are decimated. They are destroyed and demolished here by SK. And this will be it. SK can just walk straight through the front door. Crownshot flashing across the wall, looking for the chase on Hansama, who will retreat back towards his base.
The pings are coming through. Jenax is on the hunt. I don't know if Jenax even has enough mana, but he's looking for it anyway.
I mean, all he has to do is get him to 25%, Betty. That's all he's got to do.
Oh,
he misses the chains! No, how can you do this to me? Hansama's going to die.
There it is.
Power of lasers.
And SK, they're going to make the upset happen. They're going to make that 4th place spot even harder for Rogue to get as they shut down Rogue. SK find the way.
It took them a while, but in week 9, SK finally come alive and get their 3rd win of the season.
Wow, crazy stuff. And we have to criticize Rogue for honestly their disrespectful play. They tried to force so many dives, they made a lot of poorly executed plays, and SK just punished them time and time again. And, you know, yes, SK sit at the bottom of our table, but you can't just give a team that kind of gold advantage and assume they're not going to do anything with it. And Rogue got rightly punished. Larssen did not have a good Aurelia game, whereas Jenax had a fantastic LeBlanc performance. The Varus coming out from Crownshot was also extremely clean. All round, beautiful stuff from SK.
And I believe you can vote for your Kia player of the game as well at Twitter if you want. FLICKR, Jenax, and Crownshot are your options. Not often we get to say SK players' names, but they had a very good performance today, and they all deserve their moment in the spotlight.
Yeah, they certainly do. Make sure to head over to Twitter at LEC, as Medic mentioned. You can make sure you vote for your favorite, or who you thought was the best performing player. I was really impressed with Crownshot, personally, but I think any of the three could definitely get it. And props to SK. Yes, they didn't have much to play for, but ruining the hopes and dreams of your opponents, making their run through the playoffs that much harder, still a pretty satisfying way to end your split.
Yeah, and after the break, we'll take an inside look at Misfits with Dan as they go up against Vitality in our next game.
Very, very late. Selfie forward, trying to find snare, the lock up. Selfie still looking for this one. The flash play back. Selfie's gonna grab the kill.
Good improvement, so I expected us to play better.
And the final chapter's not going to do really enough. B-Boy gets stunned up. That's one down already, and somebody killed the kitty cat.
Their strength comes from their top and bot lane. We're not going to take Vitality lightly at all.
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.